Life is busy and life is complicated. And in the middle of our hectic days, sometimes we just need a brief thought, or a quick reminder, or the proverbial shot in the arm to keep us on track. Sometimes what we need is just a bit of wisdom, or a fresh idea, or a touch of inspiration to keep us going. Sometimes we just need a little something in our day. This collection of Life Talks podcast shorts are written and produced to provide the listener a quick thought or an uplifting idea in a convenient 5 to 6 minute time frame. These are produced for the busy individual who needs a lift in their day, but who's pressed for time. It is our hope that these podcast shorts will make your day a bit brighter and a bit richer.
Let me read a quote to you. It reads this way. In full uniform, the color guard marched by as part of the parade. And as they did, he forced his horribly slumped and deeply aged body out of his worn wheelchair and stood to ramrod attention. He held a salute until the guard had passed, and then he feebly collapsed back into his wheelchair. As I stared in ever-warming admiration emblazoned across his hat, I saw the words World War II Veteran. And while I deeply admire his stirring passion for our country, I stood there wishing that my passion for the cause of Christ might someday be strong enough to lift me out of the many wheelchairs within which I sit. Am I passionate for the right things? Not just passionate, but passionate in the right way. Sure, there's a lot of voices out there. There's a lot of causes out there. There's a lot of yelling and screaming and arguing and hostile behaviors and noisy propaganda and a bunch of edgy people on more than one rant advocating for these causes. On top of that, the causes themselves shift depending on the temperature of the culture or the agenda of people pulling long strings behind closed doors. There are causes that represent the demands of a handful of people who find the foundations of their cause so ill-defined or fragile that constructive dialogue is replaced with destructive actions. Greed is rampant. Power-mongering runs wild. Principles have been discarded because they impede the progressive thinking that ends up resulting in regressive outcomes. And in this mess, and in the midst of all this noise, am I passionate for the right things? Consider this. There are some things that are timeless. There are some things that are woven into this existence that you can't remove. There are principles and ethics that are foundational. You can try and remove them, but there's a huge cost to that. Civilizations throughout history have messed with them or attempted to adjust them to suit a particular cause or worked to rid their culture of them altogether. And the outcomes are never good. History will tell us rather plainly if we're willing to be honest about history. And so I want to be passionate about something that's timeless because I want it to live beyond my life. Something that this culture can reliably build upon today and tomorrow and for every tomorrow after that. Something that's certain to sustain my kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. And nothing that we can create on our own will do that. What we create is too weak and too fragile and too shallow and too lackluster to do that. That kind of stuff is only something that God can create. And so it's this God and what He created and the principles that He built it around, it's that stuff that I choose to be passionate about. Not man-made stuff, because that doesn't last. Rather, it's God-created stuff. It's the principles that shaped this existence at its core that I will surrender my passions to and be passionate about. Because if I'm not passionate about that stuff, passion won't matter. Because very shortly, nothing will.
Thanks for being with us today. It's our hope that this podcast short gave you something not only to enrich your day, but touch your life. Here at Life Talk, we also produce a collection of regular-length podcasts that address timely, relevant, and deep-seated issues in our lives, our communities, and our world.